This is Todd Toback, and today I am so excited for today's episode because we're going to talk about two gentlemen in Birmingham, Alabama, who went from zero to $500,000 in revenue their first year in business. Now, you may be listening to this trying to scratch and claw your way to your first deal, or maybe you're trying to build a business that kicks off 7 figures a year and runs without your day-to-day involvement. But if you have not been to our website, head on over to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script. There, I've got a special gift for you, and that is the exact script that we use in our own business to lock up deals. This script alone has been responsible for locking up over 1,300 deals in my own organization and literally tens of thousands of deals across the country. So go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script to download your free copy today. So that being said, let's jump in right into today's episode. I want to introduce you to Joseph and Ryan from Birmingham, Alabama. How's it going, gents?
Going great.
Going very well.
Going great. Thank you for having us, Todd.
So I'd like to, keep the intro of you guys really short, but if you can give me each and, really put a timeline on yourself so we can get right into the meat of this episode. How'd you guys get started, right? I mean, what made you decide to get into real estate wholesaling and real estate investing? And, what was that catalyst?
So, believe it or not, we met around the same time we were starting our journey. I grew up with a landlord father. Joseph decided he wanted to do something big in his life, right? And he went off to be a real estate agent. And I stayed in my 9 to 5 as a nurse, working my tail off, never really getting to that financial goal I wanted. And I saw Joseph just take off, making 6 figures pretty quickly. And we've finally just put our heads together and started a wholesale company, and it really just took off.
Okay, so Ryan, let me, that was really quick, right?
Yeah, so it was late 2019,
right?
I had gotten COVID and was burning out as a nurse, so I decided to start driving for dollars and sent Joseph my Facebook page I was starting to make. He said, he had already done a few wholesale deals by then, made some good money on the side of his agent business. And he said, why don't we just partner up and do this together? And thank God I did, because it took off. I'm more of an introvert, so I would have sat there playing around on my little WordPress website for weeks to months and not taking much action if it wasn't for this massive action taker friend of mine.
All right, well, let's go over to Joseph. So Joseph, it sounds like, you jumped in to be a real estate agent. What made you decide to get into wholesaling from being an agent? What was that transition like?
So I was just seeing, I was just, walking new home buyers through the process, showing them 30 houses and then end up not using me. And I was like, I hate this. And then I was just seeing how much these wholesalers were making. I was like, there's no way they're making this much money. So I was just like, I'd always been interested in the investing side too. So once I started seeing that and got a couple of deals under my belt, I was like, I got to jump in and do this full time. And then when I partnered up with Ryan, that's when I got rid of my license and jumped in full time, and it's just never looked back. So.
Okay. So Joseph, tell me a little bit about your watching this as an agent, because the fact that you're like, okay, I was driving 30 people around, and they bought another house without me. I think that's like the real estate agent's worst nightmare, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That is like the catalyst to make me want to go work at McDonald's, after being in real estate. I mean, that's, literally because you made more per hour, right? But, because it's interesting. That's actually kind of how I got involved. I was investing, but I saw another wholesaler sell me a deal, and I was like, wow, I mean, there's some good money in here. But, tell us how are you seeing these wholesalers make money? Like, was it, you saw them doing deals locally? Did you hear about it on the internet? What was that? How did you spot this being an agent?
Yeah. So I had some clients, investors. When I was an agent, I had some investor clients, and they were buying probably 80 to 100 houses a year. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I always went back to the same couple of wholesalers for deals so I could sell them back to my clients. I'm like, why don't I, if I'm on their side, I can actually make double or more instead of just being that middleman. Right. So that's what really brought me over to the other side.
So how much were you making per deal as an agent, bringing wholesale deals over to the clients?
I'd put a couple grand on top of the commission. So probably 5,000 to 7,000.
Okay. 5 to 7 grand. Okay. So now you're in this, you're doing the deals. You and Ryan decide to hook up and join forces. What happens next? I mean, you're at zero, right? You've got the Facebook page. Joseph is coming from the agent world. What were those first, 3 months like starting from zero?
Well, thankfully we had a pretty sizable list from the Driving for Dollars, and Joseph had a dialer, a Vulcan 7 dialer, and we just put all of our leads in there and started smiling and dialing.
Yeah, it's funny. We actually started in Panera Bread. So we were in there, smiling and dialing while people were trying to eat their lunch. And then it kind of grew from there.
Yeah, It was interesting as the lunch crowd rolled in around 11 and you're like, hey, can I make an offer on your house? And all these little old ladies are sitting around you. What are they doing in here? But I remember.
Well, let me go back a second. It sounds like that's how you guys got started, right? So you guys decided to drive for dollars and then cold call a list. Is that right?
That's it.
Okay.
And then we started pulling from PropStream right after that.
Okay. So you decided to pull from PropStream after that and get the list. So what were those first 3 months like? I mean, you guys obviously had no office, no budget. By the way, I love that. If you're listening to this, you got no excuse, right? These guys sounded like they started this thing on a shoestring. And, again, no office, making calls in Panera Bread with the dialer, the Vulcan dialer. I never heard of that. Sounds like something from Star Trek. Literally, right? But it was working, whatever it was, right? And I know that's probably not that popular in the wholesaling industry. Doesn't matter, right? It's working, so that's awesome. So you're making calls in Panera Bread. Tell us about the first deal that you guys locked up together. I mean, to get to a fast start in any kind of partnership, I think is really important. So take us to that story.
Like Kenny or Peggy came later.
It was Kenny.
Yeah. Kenny. Yeah. So Mr. Kenny, interesting situation. We actually, you hear a lot of this out there in the podcast world that we're in this industry to help people. And the truth of it is we really are. We get paid well for solving big problems, but this person had a particular interesting problem. You want to tell the details about the house itself?
Yeah, it was like his wife had passed away about a year prior. Junk all in the house. He didn't know what to do with it. So I think that was like that actual first appointment we went on, locked up the house right there. And that was just, we got to help him out. And we actually even took some of our assignment fee and gave it over to him too. So it was a good first deal.
Yeah. The poor guy was too heartbroken to even walk in the house. So he's just going to let it sit there and rot away. Mm-hmm. It was funny because it was the first offer I'd ever heard made in person, right? And Joseph knew the area really well. It's a really good flipper area for this for Birmingham. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about numbers, going over it, and Joseph just threw a hard one out there for the seller and said, "We could pay you $20,000." And in my mind, that was way too low. But the guy shook his head. Okay, I think I can do that. And it really opened my eyes to how this business works, right? Because we're working off of estimates mostly. And on the seller side, they're working off of estimates and some hearsay about what they think their house is worth. But when you get to the nuts and bolts on the investing side, you can't pay nearly as much as some of these sellers are expecting. So we got that deal thanks to Joseph's bold move, offered at a decent price.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that giving up some of our assignment fee. We ran into a small title issue where the seller wasn't going to get paid for about 17 months. So we decided to give up some of our assignment fee to help him out, move him on to the next chapter. And it was a great first deal, and kind of like the catapult or catalyst to our great year.
Right. So how much did you make on that first deal?
I think we were slotted to make. I think after that, it was a small, probably 20 grand, I think, on that first one.
Okay. Yeah. Now that's really, really interesting because I take a look at where you guys are now. And one of the things I brag about with all of my partners or clients or, all the listeners is, doing big deals, right? So Ryan, when you heard, you're like, oh my gosh, 20 grand, making that offer for 20 grand, but yet you guys only made $20,000, right?
Yep.
On the deal. I'm sure things have changed a lot since then. So tell us a little bit. Obviously, you did that first deal for $20,000. What happened next? I'm curious. By the way, how long were you guys before we started working together? How long were you guys working together? I'm just curious. I didn't even know that.
Oh man, we literally just like 3 months.
Yeah, 3 to 4 months. Yeah.
Okay. So
we met for coffee a couple years before and dreamed out loud about our dreams and getting extremely wealthy and changing the world through real estate.
Right.
And the only difference is he took action. I just sat there working my butt away, hoping I could save up enough money to invest one day.
Right.
And it's it really just took off, and we put our heads together.
Man, that's awesome. Go ahead.
Todd, can I back up a little bit? This
Sure.
deal we're talking about here was the first one got under contract, but the first two we closed was so we got licensed January the 6th and closed 2 properties on January the 8th of 2020.
Well, what do you mean got licensed?
We got our LLC license, set up our entity.
You just set up your entity, because I don't want to get that confused with getting your real estate license.
We closed those properties 2 days after we got our entity set up and netted 32,000.
Yeah, the formation. Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. So it was the 32,000 with those 2 deals plus another 20, so $52,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
You know, what I love so much about this, gents, is just the action, right? It's the making the decision, the getting on the phone, the generating the leads, the qualifying the leads, the closing of the leads, and then selling them for maximum profit, because that's really all there is to this business if you really want to simplify it, right? So those are 3 deals, you know, so now you guys are, you know, doing these deals. I mean, how the heck did you do $500,000 your first year?
Grinding.
The bigger deals led to even bigger deals. We did a 4-plex for $55,000. Closed that in like 3 or 4 weeks. We did a couple more deals where they're like, we had a bunch that were in between the $30,000, $40,000 range. And we actually locked up a 25 property portfolio. And that was just like the gift that kept giving, because he kept throwing us more properties, and totaled to probably about $300,000 just from that one seller.
Right.
Yeah. A big game changer was when we decided to sign up for Todd Toback's coaching program. Because yes, we probably would have went through doing average deals around $7,000, you know, with the occasional $30,000, $40,000 deal. But thanks to your coaching, we realized this is a lot of work, right? Each property does take a significant amount of work. And if you can just say yes to bigger deals with bigger profits, then your work is going to go a lot further.
Yeah, I think it was a change in the mindset. You know, we went from thinking $5,000 deals to up to $55,000 deals. It's just all in the way you look at it. I mean, it takes just as much work to close a $55,000 deal as it does to close a $5,000 deal.
I would argue it takes more work to close a $5,000 deal than it does the $55,000 deal.
Right, yeah. Yes, the same or more. Yeah.
The same or more, right? Well, I will tell people, by the way, I know that Ryan mentioned coaching, but actually I've been lucky enough, and Ryan and Joseph were both lucky enough, actually, that we're now partnered in Birmingham, which is really, really awesome. And that's, you know, part of the reason why I want to have them on the podcast today. You know, one of the things that I'm most proud of to watch is people who decide to say no, right? So, you know, once you say no to the small deals, then all of a sudden those big deals appear, right? Where you say, this is my minimum standard, right? This is where the income thermostat goes on and says, this is what we work for. So if you could talk a little bit about the mindset of saying no to small deals, because that's hard, right? That's really, 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 really hard to say no. Sometimes like, oh my gosh, but this is revenue and it's in my hands. And, you know, how could I say no to a couple $1,000 deal? Tell us a little bit about how you kind of worked through that, what the process was, and kind of how you look at that now.
Well, I do know firsthand experience. It is pretty hard because you're seeing the money right there. It's on the table. And it's almost, you feel like you're going to throw it in the trash if you say no to the deal. But the mindset shift for me was, instead of saying, I'm just throwing that deal away, I'm just saying no right now and waiting for them to be a yes at our number. You really have to know what your business needs to operate off of in order to really commit to that, because you're going to have a starving team if you commit to all these tiny deals that don't really pay your people well.
Yeah, there's 2 other things that I would add to that. It's you know, if you say no to the $5,000 deal, a bigger deal is going to come. It's all what you focus on. I mean, if you're focused on $5,000 deals, you're going to get $5,000 deals. But if you're focused on larger ones, you're going to get larger ones. And as you grow your team and you build and you start hiring, $7,000, $5,000 check is not gonna feed the business.
Right. Man, that is awesome. Lots of good nuggets. So what I'm hearing is, from Ryan, I heard that by saying no to the small deal, you're actually not throwing it away, right? You're putting yourself in a position to actually get it for the price that you need to by having the ability to say no, right? You're actually in a very strong position for the seller to really say yes to your lower offer, where where one point you're going to net 5, but now you can have them accept 35, right? Because you're willing to walk away. Did I get that, Ryan?
Yes. It's funny. It's a miracle we did make that much last year, because there were so many crappy deals I tried to turn into a deal. You can't magically make a crappy deal a good deal. You just got to move on until they can come up to your number.
Right. Or come down to your number.
Yep.
Right. And I love what Joseph said. He mentioned, well, if you spend your time in the big deals, you're going to have more time and they're going to appeal. I don't know about you guys, but the small deals, it seems like they take so much headspace. They're demoralizing. If you have any kind of team and they're working on commission and they do all the work, you have to do a lot of coaching with this, because you have to coach them to let go of those, because they want to win. Right. But on the other hand, when they get that paycheck, it's not a real needle mover for them. Right. It takes up the company resources, the title company, your real estate agent, if you have one, the owners. And so at the end of the day, it's kind of like this moral victory that if you really look at your P&L at the end, it's pretty demoralizing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, man, I'm getting some really, really, really good nuggets. Okay. So, now let's talk about this one seller with a $300,000 deal, because someone may be listening to this and they're like, oh, well, Joseph and Ryan are just lucky. They just got this one deal that popped up. So what would you say to someone who's listening to this and saying, oh, well, they just found that one seller who did $300,000 in business with them? What would you say to someone listening to say that's just luck?
Can I throw a one-liner out there?
Yeah.
You'll find one of those every day if you're looking. Mm-hmm. There's deals out there. You just it's the consistency, showing up every day and looking.
Yeah, it's the action. It's mass. You got to take massive action to get that kind of result. It's not like the showing up. Every now and then every day you got to come in and you got to grind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave a little teaser here at the end. By the way, we're going to leave. I'm going to tell you how you can partner with Ryan, Joseph, and I in Birmingham. Whether you want to JV with us on deals, if you want to be an acquisition specialist and get to work with Joseph and Ryan every day, or if you need help closing your deals. At the end of this episode, I'm going to show you, if you're in Birmingham, how to close that. Regardless where you are in your journey, though, you're still going to be able to take a lot from today's episode, but just keep on the end. If you're in Birmingham, we're going to leave a link here, an email address where you can contact Joseph and Ryan and find out how we can do deals together. So let's talk a little bit about, you said, you can find one of those every single day, right? And one of my mentors says, the eyes only see, or the ears only hear what the brain is looking for, right? So Ryan, you said, okay, you could find one of those every single day if you're looking for them. So number one, how would you recommend that people look for them? I mean, how do you now get your mindset straight to go in that direction?
So for us, we just make sure each person who is doing lead follow-up is calling at least 60 prospects per day, sending out 5 contracts per day. And our goal is to lock up at least 2 contracts per acquisition specialist. And to back up before all those, you just got to know what it takes. And that's for our company, that's what it takes to end up finding enough deals to meet the quota, meet our budget. But you also have to back up a little bit and take a deep dive in your mindset. You gotta know where you're going. Take a long view approach. And each day for us, I've found that if we do our daily planner right before we leave the office, that preps us to just hit the ground running the next day. So a lot of careful planning and just showing up, no matter how you feel, what's going on, just show up and do the job.
How about you, Joseph?
I just think that, you like I said, back to the massive action kind of thing. It's, you got to put in the work, you got to track your numbers too. That's super important because if you don't track your numbers, it's kind of like, how much action do you know? I mean, what you have no goals or targets, you got to know where you're headed. Because if you got to make this many calls, you got to send out this many offers, hey, I have a chance to make this at the end of the year.
Right.
So. And you always want to ask yourself, what can I automate to? Because there's so many little tiny decisions you make every day.
Mm-hmm.
Many of those can be automated, so you don't have to fool around with it every single day. So just get those on automations and run with it. Try to clear your plate as much as possible.
So you said two things I want to come back to, because Joseph just said track your numbers. You said 2 contracts per acquisition specialist per what, Ryan? So 2 contracts per acquisition specialist
per week.
So that's 8 per month per acquisition specialist.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening to this and you want to do deals, right, that's a very, very high standard, right? But you can absolutely do that. Ryan talked about making 60 calls per day per acquisition specialist, sending 5 offers out a day. And if you do that, you can't help but be successful. I mean, that's great, great, great info, guys. Going back to Joseph really quick, you talked about, and I don't want you to overwhelm someone listening to this, but you said track your numbers to your goals. What are like maybe just 2 of the most important numbers if someone was just starting out that they should track, and keep it really, really simple, Joseph?
I would just say the first 2 is number of calls a day. And then I would say probably number of offers, because if you're not sending offers, you're not getting contracts, which contracts lead to closings. Mm-hmm. That's what I would say.
Oh, that's awesome. 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 All right, gents. Well, listen to this: $0 to $500,000 in 1 year, starting from 0. We have a nurse with no experience. We have a former recovering real estate agent, which I find it almost impossible to go from a real estate agent to becoming a wholesaler. There's so many, different mind shifts that you have to go from. So I'm super impressed, Joseph, and honored to be partner with you guys. But remember, number 1 is that if you have not downloaded the script, go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script. Also, though, if you are in Birmingham, really important, if you, again, want to joint venture with us in Birmingham, Joseph and Ryan, if you have contracts and you want us to help move them, if you need help closing your deals and you don't know what to do, or hey, maybe you want to become an acquisition specialist and you're thinking, hey, you know what, I would love to start without having to risk my marketing dollars, but I'm willing to put in the work. Reach out to Joseph and Ryan. They got some great juju, great energy, a lot of great things going on in the office today. And always just a lot of energy. So I know you benefit. So where do they contact you, gents?
Yeah, you can reach out to Joseph or Ryan at Forward Investment Group. That's like Move Forward. You can reach us there. We respond really quickly. Also, yeah, we have the best dispositions team in the world, ran by this guy and our operations manager, Angela. And we reach out if you need some help.
Yeah, we love to work with anybody. We're a fast-moving team, so we can help move those deals for you. And we have a great culture here. So, if you're looking for a new home, we love to, at least talk to you.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I think the email address may have been not that clear. So it's you said Joseph or Ryan at Forward Investment Group, or it's Joseph. Yep. So that's not the email address, right?
It's Joseph at Forward Investment Group, and then you can email Ryan at Forward Investment Group.
So Forward. So like moving forward, investmentgroup.com.
Okay. And if you just have to give him, go ahead.
Sorry, I hate to correct you on air, but I did have a little experience. My dad was a landlord. I was raised in it, not just a nurse.
All right. Yeah. But in terms of coming from a nurse, I mean, the one thing that I always like to say is, like, you were in a totally different field, and I know that you're watching your dad be a landlord, but the one thing I would say is, I think it's awesome, right? I prefer that you have no experience, because you don't have to undo, all the bad habits. So
I would have to add that, if you're dabbling right now and you're close to being able to safely jump in full time, just do it. You're never going to take off until you just dive in head first.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Remember, the biggest takeaways I got is go out there, take radical action. It doesn't matter the tools you use, the office that you're in. Go out there, make calls, make offers, partner with the right people, focus on big deals, get rid of the small deals. Know that we're helping people. And if you want to partner with us, check it out. I guess the email address, I know they mentioned it. One more time, guys. What is the email address?
It's either Ryan or Joseph at Forward, like moving forward, FORWARD, investmentgroup.com.
Okay. Awesome. Talk to you on the next episode.